Welcome to Daily Book Insight. Today, we are diving deep into a book that has been a total game changer for how millions of people think about love, Attached, by Dr. Amir Levine and Rachel Heller. In this explainer, we're going to break down the science behind our closest bonds, and I promise it'll give you the tools to find and, more importantly, keep the love you really want. So, have you ever asked yourself this? Really. One relationship just flows, it feels like smooth sailing, and then the very next one feels like you're caught in a hurricane. You might chalk it up to just not finding the right person. But what if it's got less to do with them and more to do with understanding our own internal wiring? The book Attached says this isn't some big mystery. It's actually a science, and that science is called attachment theory. All right, so here's our game plan. We'll kick things off with the actual science of why we connect in the first place. Then we'll get into the good stuff and help you figure out your own attachment style. After that, we are going to expose the most common and often most painful relationship dynamic out there, the anxious avoidant trap. And finally, we'll lay out a clear path to becoming more secure and building the kind of relationship you truly deserve. Okay, let's get into it. Okay, first things first. We're often told by society that being needy or dependent on someone is a sign of weakness, right? You're supposed to be totally self-sufficient. But here's the thing. Attachment science tells a completely different story. That powerful urge we have to connect with a special someone isn't some character flaw. It's a biological need that's been hardwired into our brains over millions of years for one very simple reason: survival. This quote from the book really cuts right to the chase. Biologically speaking, once we get attached to a partner, we're not just two separate people anymore. We actually form a single unit. Your partner's presence can literally regulate your heart rate, your blood pressure, even the hormones flowing through your veins. So this whole idea of being an emotional island, it's not just tough, it flies in the face of our own biology. So how does our brain actually manage this deep need for connection? Well, it uses something called the attachment system. The best way to think about it is like your own personal relationship radar. When your radar senses your partner is there for you and responding to you, everything's cool, calm, and collected. But if it senses a threat, like your partner is pulling away or the bond feels shaky, an alarm goes off. And that alarm triggers what scientists call protest behavior. When a little kid gets separated from their mom, they might cry their eyes out. For us adults, that protest behavior might look like calling or texting over and over again until we finally get that response that makes us feel safe. This brings us to this really cool idea called the dependency paradox. And it sounds totally backwards, doesn't it? How could depending on someone actually make you more independent? But the research is crystal clear. In one study, they put women in a stressful situation. When they were alone, their brain scans lit up with stress signals. When they held a stranger's hand, the stress went down a bit. But when they held their husband's hand, the stress almost completely vanished. You see, having that secure base, that safe person to come home to, gives our brain the all-clear signal to go out into the world and be brave, explore, and take risks. Okay, so we all have this attachment system, but, and this is a big but, it doesn't operate the same way for everyone. Based on our genes and our life experiences, we each develop a specific attachment style. You can think of this style as your personal blueprint for how you act in romantic relationships. It dictates how you see intimacy, how you handle conflict, and what you expect from a partner. So let's figure out which one of these sounds most like you. So what's the breakdown look like in the general population? Well, researchers have found it's roughly like this. A little over half of us are secure. Then you've got about 20% who are anxious, 25% who are avoidant, and a small slice that fits into a mixed or disorganized category. But the most important thing to see here is that no matter where you fall on this chart, you are so not alone. These are really predictable patterns that millions and millions of people share. This little table is a fantastic way to see the three main styles at a glance. You've got the anxious style, where people crave intimacy but are terrified of abandonment, so they're always looking for reassurance. Then there's the avoidant style. These folks tend to see intimacy as a threat to their freedom, so they do things to keep closeness at bay. And then you have the secure style. These people are comfortable with intimacy, they communicate their needs directly, and they aren't really operating from a place of fear. Let's dig into each one a little more. So if you have an anxious attachment style, that relationship radar we talked about is basically on high alert all the time. You're super sensitive to the tiniest shifts in your partner's mood or behavior, and you might see them as a major threat to the relationship. That deep fear of abandonment can trigger what the book calls activating strategies. These are thoughts and behaviors all designed to pull your partner back toward you. This might look like calling them again and again, trying to make them jealous, or even withdrawing just to see if they'll come after you. It's all a subconscious attempt to get that fundamental need for closeness.
Now, for someone with an avoidance style, their inner world is a constant tug of war between their natural human need for connection and a deep-seated fear of being swallowed up by it. As soon as a partner gets too close, they start to feel suffocated, and their need for independence goes into overdrive. So they use deactivating strategies to create space. This could be anything from suddenly focusing on their partner's little flaws, to fondly remembering an idealized phantom ex, to sending mixed signals that just leave their partner feeling completely confused. They are, in a way, masters of keeping love at a safe distance.
And finally, we have the secure style. These are the people who, for the most part, have a positive view of themselves and others. They see intimacy as a wonderful, natural part of life, and they welcome it. They are fantastic at communicating what they're feeling and what they need directly and honestly. They don't play games because they just don't need to. When arguments happen, they see it as a problem to be solved together. Because of all this, they often become a stabilizing anchor in their relationships, and they can even help an insecure partner feel more secure over time. So, what happens when these different styles get together? Well, while a secure person can usually make a relationship work with any style, there's one pairing that is incredibly common, intensely magnetic, and often really painful. It's called the anxious avoidant trap. This is that classic push-pull, chaser and distancer dynamic that leaves both people feeling constantly misunderstood and just plain exhausted. And this right here, this is the tragic heart of the problem. The anxious person's brain is basically screaming, get closer to feel safe, while the avoidant person's brain is screaming, get away to feel safe. The very thing one person does to soothe their anxiety is the exact thing that triggers the other person's deepest fears. It really is a perfect storm of conflicting needs.
So you can see how this plays out in a vicious cycle that just feeds itself. The anxious partner feels distance, so they ramp up their efforts to close that gap. This, of course, makes the avoidant partner feel even more smothered and pressured, so they pull away even farther. That withdrawal makes the anxious partner feel panicked and abandoned, so they pursue even harder. You see, each person's defense mechanism is the other person's trigger. It's a trap.
Does any of this sound painfully familiar? The relationship feels like a total roller coaster. These incredible highs of connection, followed by sudden, confusing periods of distance. You have these same arguments again and again about me time versus us time. The anxious partner usually ends up feeling like they're too much or too needy, while the avoidant partner can feel a sense of power or control in the dynamic. It's just an exhausting dance where one person is always chasing and the other is always pulling away. Now, I know hearing all of this can sound a bit bleak, but here is the single most important and hopeful message from the book attached. Your attachment style is not a life sentence. The authors describe our styles as stable but plastic, which is just a fancy way of saying they can absolutely change with awareness and effort. So let's shift gears from just diagnosing the problem to creating a real plan of action. The very first step on the path to security is learning to replace that ineffective protest behavior with effective communication. You see, protest behavior is reactive. It's an indirect cry for help. You're basically asking your partner, do you care enough about me to read my mind and figure out what's wrong? But secure, effective communication is proactive. It's about being vulnerable and clearly stating your experience. Instead of acting out, you just say it. I feel hurt when you pull away right after we've had a really close moment. That gives your partner a clear roadmap to meeting your needs. The book lays out 5 golden rules for communicating like a secure person. 1, be totally honest about what you're feeling. 2, state what you need without making your partner the villain. Just shifting from you never listen to me to I'm feeling unheard right now changes the entire conversation. 3, use I feel statements, not you are accusations. 4, be specific. Instead of you're always distant, try when I didn't hear from you all day, I started to feel worried. And finally, number 5, timing is everything. Have these talks when you're both calm, not in the middle of a fight. Okay, if you lean anxious, your journey to security begins with self-acceptance. Your need for intimacy and reassurance is 100% valid. Stop being ashamed of it. The real work is learning how to manage the anxiety that pops up when those needs don't feel met. This means finding ways to self-soothe and building a rich life and a strong sense of self-worth that isn't completely hanging on your partner's every move. And this is a big one. Learn to recognize that the intense roller coaster of an activated attachment system isn't love, it's anxiety. Real secure love feels like peace. And if you lean avoidant, your journey is all about consciously noticing and challenging those deactivating strategies. When you feel that urge to pull away or nitpick a flaw, see it for what it is, a defense mechanism. The book has some great practical tips, like making a daily gratitude list about your partner to fight that tendency to focus on the negative. Also, doing activities together, like going for a hike or cooking, can make closeness feel less intense and direct, letting you connect without feeling so suffocated. By understanding this science, by identifying your own patterns, and by consciously choosing to try new behaviors, you're no longer just a passenger in your own love life. You now have the knowledge and the tools to draw up a brand new blueprint, one that leads to a secure, fulfilling, and genuinely happy future. So, if you only take away 3 things from all of this, let it be these. Number 1, your need to connect with someone is a biological fact, not a personal failing. It is a need, not neediness. Number 2, these attachment styles are the secret code that explains almost everything about our relationship dynamics. And number 3, and this is the most important one, you can rewrite the code. You have the power to become more secure. So I'll leave you with a question to chew on. Based on everything we've just talked about, what is one small, secure action you can take in your relationship today? Maybe it's telling your partner something you appreciate about them. Maybe it's stating a need clearly and kindly. Or maybe it's just taking a deep breath instead of reacting. The path to security is built one small, conscious choice at a time. If you found this insight helpful, please do us a favor and hit that like button, subscribe, and share it with friends or family who you think could benefit from it. Thanks so much for watching.